Good evening, podcast people and those on Facebook Live. How you doing? Time for another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. Tanya, say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining in with us on tonight. We have somebody special as usual. Wow, wonderful guest.
That's right. We got Kim Bettie with us tonight. And Tanya's going to read your bio, and then we're going to ask you a few questions and then let you tell your story.
Beautiful.
All right, everybody. We got Kim Bettie. She is the founder and CEO of Greater Advantage, a socially conscious coaching practice committed to improving work and life harmony. Prior to launching her own business, she worked in a corporate America, partnering with Fortune 50 companies in organizational development and employee relations, where she trained and coached senior leaders to overcome burnout, improve management, and build inclusive high-performance teams. Now Kim is on a mission to level the playing field. She believes everybody deserves a greater advantage. All right, here, everybody. Here she is. Welcome.
Yeah, once again, welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
How are you doing this evening?
I am doing good. I was just saying behind the scenes, I just love this power couple here. It's making my heart sing. It really is. Hello, everybody.
All right. So, one of the things that we always like to do, I don't know why, but we still do it, is stress educational value. So you went to what school?
Cass Tech CT in the house.
Oh wow! How did that happen?
I wonder.
I know.
We like to
no shade. We won't throw shade. We'll just be in harmony. I preach harmony here.
That's right. It's harmony.
So. Yes, you do.
That's all about showing the value that Detroit public school system has, because so many of the students out of DPS have done great things, continue to do great things, and will do great things.
Exactly.
So we want to stress that. Where did you college education?
Yep, and I want to say that's how I discovered Damon and Tynia. He was posting on a Cass Tech site, and he said things my mother never told me, and I was like, "Oh, I have a few of those. I should have been listening. I should have been listening better." But she did tell me some things, and some things she didn't tell me. And then, and it's interesting. Even when you said, "How did that happen?" How it happened was I grew up in Detroit, 7 Mile, Wyoming area.
Okay.
I always say on the other side of Livernois. And I was getting into trouble, really. And I went to Bagley. I love Bagley Elementary, but I've started to hang out with the kids on the block. I'm like Jenny from the block. Like, all of my friends didn't really make it off the block, to be perfectly honest, or they stayed on the block. One ended up being a what would they call it? A street worker, maybe right on the corner of the block, though.
Right.
I'm like, go down the street, girl.
Yeah.
People were killed. One guy went to jail, got out of jail, got stabbed by his girlfriend and died right after that. 10 babies, lots of things. And I'm not speaking ill. I'm saying that's where I came from. And as I was starting to get in trouble, my mother saw it and she tapped me and sent me. I ended up going to Region 5 Middle School, which I absolutely loved. A lot of people from Cass went there. And then my mother learned how to navigate the school system to get me into Cass Tech. We didn't know. We did not know. So I was the first of the 5 of us to go to college. I ended up, my first year was at Wayne State University. Okay. Mama wouldn't let me go away to school.
Right.
Then she was like, get out. All right. And when I got out, I went to Michigan State University, and that's where I graduated from. Yeah.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I went the opposite. I went to Western and then came home and went to Wayne State.
Okay. Other way around.
Yeah. But as long as we went somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Keep it going. So let's get into this. When we first connected, you were telling me about this project that you worked on to find out about your grandfather. Yeah. And so I'll let you tell the story.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have, what do they say? I'm woke. I'm woke now because I discovered in 2015 my great-great-grandfather's narratives of when he was enslaved. Now, I knew a little bit about him. That was one of the things my mother never told me. I knew that he lived to be 104. I knew that he was enslaved. I knew that he lived in Indiana. And I knew that he did have businesses. Every now and again, she'd go and get like this tattered news article and show me information about him that was in like the credenza, in the dining room. I didn't know, though, that he had his narrative recorded in 1937. He was 89 years old. He was one of 2,000 formerly enslaved to be recorded in the Civil War era.
Okay.
Had no idea. And Tynia, you're going to love this. I was at one of my lowest low points. I was brokenhearted by some guy, 20th guy probably. I was living in New York at the time, from Detroit, moved to New York. You'd think it was beautiful. It was like Sex in the City or something. Wasn't quite turning out like that. I was brokenhearted, was feeling oppressed by an employer at the time.
Right.
And trapped by my own success, making a lot of money, so I didn't feel like I could leave. Just everything was going wrong. And I got on my knees and I prayed, Lord, help me. I don't want to have the same mindset that my mother had, which, God bless her, when she went on to heaven, she kind of turned positive, literally. And that's why I know that she's an angel, and I believe. Before that, though, she always thought, life's a you-know-what, and then you die. That was kind of her saying,
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to live this way. And as I closed my eyes and cried, I heard, Google your great-great-grandfather. Google your what you say, Lord? And so I got on my computer, wiped my tears, Googled, and I found the narrative of him being enslaved. I found 2 of them. I found articles. I found blogs. I found pictures that had been colorized. I mean, he's somewhat of a hero.
Right.
And I didn't know that exists. And so it just, the long story short, and we can unpack it, is discovering his story. Girl, I got up and said, what you doing? If he can, I can. If he can, we can. And I've been on a mission ever since to help people to look back, move forward, pull what they want from their history and their ancestry. Sometimes you got to pick and choose. Not everybody in your family inspires you.
Right.
Find something that does and get that resilience and keep moving.
Right. Okay. So, I read part of your blog, I guess it was, on his story. And you had some interesting stuff in there about, I guess, not only him, but his brother.
Oh, you wanted to get right to that, And that is funny because what he's talking about is, so my great-great-grandfather, John Fields, he wanted, does he always just jump to that? He wanted to jump to the good stuff, because it's almost, you bring up a really good point, because when you go to look up your family history, you might find great things and you might not. You might be white and find out that you own slaves, for example. How do you deal with that and cope with that? And so for my great-great-grandfather, I brought a couple of things to read to you. And first, I'm going to back it up a little bit, Damon. And back that thing up and read the sort of the precursor to that, the prerequisite, if you will.
Yes.
And so here's just a little bit about him. My name is John Fields, and I'm 89 years old. I was born March 27, 1948, Owensburg, Kentucky. He says that's 115 miles below Louisville, Kentucky. There was 11 other children beside myself and my family. When I was 6 years old, all of us children were taken from my parents because my master died and his estate had to be settled. He says, I can't describe the heartbreak and horror of that separation. I was only 6 years old, and it was the last time I ever saw my mother for longer than one night. 12 children taken from my mother in one day, and then he says where they all went to. And he goes on to talk about, I think they put names in a hat, and then they divvied them up.
Okay.
And what's so interesting about what Damon is talking about, so I go on this search. I do everything from read the articles. I gave a photo of the church that he co-founded. He co-founded a Black Baptist church, and I gave a picture to the Historical Society there. I also joined a web series from the first church that he belonged to, the white church that helped these Black people start the Black church. All that to say, people started giving me more articles, more than that were digitized. They were going in the basements of the churches. They were going to various different places, and they gave me all these articles. And so I went on to learn that he met his wife at the first church. They got married. The parents of my great-great-grandmother taught them how to buy houses and build them and rent them out, and that's how he got his wealth. He preached his last sermon as a layman preacher at 100 years old, married the woman of his dreams, got baptized in the water, all these things. He went from Indiana, from Kentucky to Indiana.
Okay.
However, what Damon is talking about is, as I'm combing through information, I go to Google Books and I see that there was an unsolved murder mystery that sounded just like it was in his area. And I'm going, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Then I keep digging in more articles. Let me go to my blog so I can shed a little light here. Then I go and I read an article by him that begins to talk about his brother, Edward. And I'll read that. John Fields, they said, is an example. And I'm just going to use the language they use, okay? John Fields of Lafayette, Indiana, is an example of what Negroes of yesterday accomplished by thrift and industry. He was born a slave, March 27, 1948, in Daviess County, Kentucky. He is nearly 90 years of age. His mind is still active, and he can recall incidents of the slave period with great accuracy. Here's where the deep part goes. His first owner was a cruel man named Bob McFarland. John's brother, Edward Fields, killed his master when he later attempted to whip him. John was then transferred to another master named David Hill. On Mr. Hill's plantation, John saw some evils of slavery. He says that once his mystery was away for several weeks, Mr. Hill forced a girl, 13 years old, to have illicit relationships with her master. Her mistress returned to find that the girl was in a delicate state of health, pregnant. Mm-hmm. She insisted that the girl tell her everything, but the master had already forbade her to tell, and that he would kill her if not, in essence, just to move forward. Mm-hmm. And in essence, they sent the girl off to Mississippi to pick cotton. My great-great-grandfather was on a tobacco field.
Okay.
So let's unpack that for a minute, Tynia. I'm going to make a movie out of this, or a book or something.
It sounds like one now already.
That's right.
So I connected the dots. This is an unsolved mystery in a book. And I dug through things, found articles, and discovered that allegedly, just in case there's some type of recourse for years later, they come after me. Well, since you're a descendant, that Edward had actually killed the plantation owner. And now picture this, you guys. So now he's separated from his family. And probably because he was 6 years old, he didn't understand. But mama and daddy know that it's because one of the brothers killed the master. Mm-hmm. Right. And now they have to live with being separated from their children. Now, the good news is nobody ever found out. Mm-hmm. Right. Nothing ever happened to Edward. Right. That makes my stomach hurt. I mean, you know how many people attempted to do things and got killed and hung and made an example. So he got away with it. But look at the repercussions of their family being separated because of it.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what they say, no good deed goes unpunished.
And then he started out with, so he's also born enslaved. And really, I think if I was just to infer, you guys, they were happy-ish until it got bad with him and Edward.
Sure.
And now he goes to another place and he says that it was peaceful until this woman married another man, David Hill. And then David Hill got evil and started doing things. Yeah. And that's where he messed with that 13-year-old girl. There was only about 7 or 8 of them. So it must have been a small plantation because I found the census with my great-great-grandfather mentioned with a few of those enslaved. Yeah. And so apparently now he ends up in a bad place where this guy is cruel. And so that's the answer to that story, Dana.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Right. Well,
that's interesting.
Right. You know, when you say that, it's because when I read, I say, yeah, it sounded like they were happy as one can be in this situation. But when you know, or when you don't know anything other than being owned, if you will, but you eat every day, you sleep every day, you got to do some work that you probably don't want to do, but you're not treated bad per se, then I guess there is some kind of there can be a calmness in living a life that's uncluttered. I'll say it that way, especially considering how some folks were treated.
What do they say about a frog? If you put it on a small fire and then you keep raising the fire up, it'll just sit there and burn. Or an elephant that's pinned down as a little baby elephant, as it grows, it'll just stay with that little stake in the ground.
Yeah, or the small chain, because doesn't know any better. Right. Doesn't know any better. So you conditioned the mind. So so that was and as you said, I was wondering as I was reading. So do you have the thought process, the serious thought of making it into a screenplay or a book or something?
I started the blog, and then I definitely am committed to writing a book. I wrote a little bit of a book that is a little bit different, though. This was about diversity. Intelligence is the new emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Because I believe that we need to know about ourselves to navigate everything that's going on in the world right now. There's so much, not so much like it's new. People are aware of the social unrest, and it's constantly on our screens, let's say.
Right.
And so to navigate that, it's hard to turn it off like we used to do and go and just be all right at work. And now it's more difficult to do such a thing,
right.
And so knowing yourself, knowing your hot buttons. So that was the purpose of that. But I do want to tell his story, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I have this idea of, how the storyline goes, where I kind of go to sleep and I wake up and great-great-grandfather's there. And he drove the horse and buggy for someone who was at the Lafayette News, one of the newspapers, which is why he had so many articles.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about having him pick me up on the horse and buggy, and I dream that, I'm out navigating it. Something like that. So a reality fiction kind of book.
Right. Sounds good.
And I want to do that. I want to change history while I'm in it, because that's the real moral of my story. We can't change the past, but in some ways we can rewrite it.
Okay.
What if, the what ifs, because in the shows like that, they always go back in time, they go to high school or they go wherever, and then they come back different because they've looked at it that way.
Right. Well, I went back to school recently. It's been over a year now, but one of the things that some of the classes stress is that if we know our past, we can figure out some of the triggers that we have in our present.
There you go.
Because sometimes we think we do things happen to us, our relatives do things, and we don't understand why they're doing it.
Things just show up.
Right.
Because I'm on I'm about to have a mission as well. When he was telling me about your you had a story about your grandfather. I only have one living relative on my mother's side, my aunt, and I went through all the obituaries. She had all the obituaries, so I took a copy of them with my phone, and I'm gonna do our family's history and have it presented at our family reunion.
Oh, I love that. I think everybody should, and I've incorporated Damon into my coaching process. Let me just share with you how he ended up becoming free, because I think that's the key for me right now on why I am so passionate about this. And it's the same thing as we said about the frog or the elephant, because see, my great-great-grandfather always had a mindset of being free. When he was 6 and they separated him, he called himself, and I know it's only cool to say enslaved now, but I got to say what my grandfather said.
Right.
He called himself an independent slave at that time. For some reason, he saw himself that way. And here's what you're going to find interesting about when he ran away to freedom. That's my puppy in the background. Can you all hear him? She's playing too hard. Calm down, Joy. It says here, at the beginning of the Civil War, I was still at this place as a slave. And I gotta get through through the grammar. It looked at first as if the South would win the war, as most of the big battles were won by the South. This was because we slaves stayed at home and tended the farms and kept the families. To eliminate this solid support of the South, the Emancipation Act was passed, freeing all slaves. Most of the slaves were so ignorant they didn't realize they were free. The planters knew this, and as Kentucky never seceded from the Union, they would send slaves into Kentucky from other states in the South and hire them out to the plantation. For these reasons, I did not realize I was free until 1864. I immediately resolved to run away and join the Union Army. He didn't get in the Army, but he found a job, and he said he became an independent worker. An independent worker. I might have to pick up my puppy. I'm glad yours is asleep by your feet. Let me mute for a second. Y'all saw that look, right? That's the look.
Yes.
Yeah, mine's 11, so yeah, she's pretty tame.
She's only at 11 months, so I might have to get her.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna grab her. You guys hold.
All right. Right. And see, that's one of the things I want to bring up, the notion of slaves becoming free, especially during the war.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understand that completely. Because like you said, we just became emancipated.
Yeah, but even before they did that.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's so interesting to me, you guys, what I told Damon was I'm going to carefully draw the analogy of the great resignation that we're going through right now, 2021, where people are quitting their jobs, with my great-great-grandfather's story, because so now he wakes up and he literally overhears it. Picture him just like in the field somewhere in the bushes, and he overhears some guys sitting around talking about, we're not going to do that here. So my point is, he wasn't rebellious, all respect to any that are. I mean, we had people who were jumping off of ships instead of dying. We had people that would cause issues and end up getting hung or beat because they were like, I'm going to be rebellious. We have people just run away, obviously, right?
Yep.
And then we have someone like my great-great-grandfather who is doing what he thinks he's supposed to do until he's like, oh, what?
Right.
And so he decides then to run away. And I mean, I won't go into it because I know we don't have time right now, but in the soon-to-be book and screenplay that Damon and Tynia are encouraging me to do, you will discover I even know his footprints. Like, I know where he went and the direction that he went and how he got on a boat and then he got on a train. Like, I know all those kind of things, right? It's so fascinating.
Right.
But he broke free, and then he said he got his first job making, I think, $7 a month. And he said, that's when I became an independent worker.
Okay. Right.
So he always saw himself independent. And then it answered so many things for me, because I've always been this autonomous, independent person. And it's like a yearning inside of me. And my mom was like, no, you're going to be a nurse like the rest of us. You're a registered nurse because you went to college. Like, you can really do it.
I know you can.
I didn't want to be a nurse. And so I had to figure out what I was going to do and be, but I felt independent and I wanted to have my own business all along. But the analogy that I draw, people were furloughed, and I did a podcast on it recently. I have a podcast, Work and Life Harmony.
Okay.
And I did the analogy of people realizing, wait, you just furloughed me and let me go. And I had to figure out unemployment. I had to figure out how to do what I needed to do, because it's $15 an hour. Everybody's making it like we were rich on the pandemic unemployment. But so you had to figure it out on $15 an hour. Some people that was more money. For many people that was less than you normally make. And they figured it out. And I have one lady who said, I realized that if things can get this bad, then it can't get any worse. So the meme the young people say is, you cry and boss up. She said, I'm going to cry and I'm going to boss up. And I realized that I'm going to live my best life. And so many people are quitting their job now because, as the recruiter said that I interviewed, people are realizing that was life and death. So I say it's like a survivor's mentality. So if you survive slavery and then you find out you're free and then you run away, you're like, then I'm going to do $7 a month and I can get another one for $6 a month and then I can do this, that, and the other. And he saw him, he made it work. The resilience.
And we talking about way back then.
Yeah. I'm not going to give up,
I know.
Right. And the thing about it, when you were saying that he made his way to freedom, it's so funny because during the Civil War, a lot of the from what I read, the Northern Army would come in and they would win a battle and they would free the slaves, and word came back to them to return the property to its legal owners.
Yep.
So who are you to free slaves? That's not your job. Your job is to win a war. And so much was confused about what was going on. And it's so for him to have that independent spirit then was a godsend for him, and apparently for you.
Well, and Tynia said behind the scenes, I needed you, girl, when I was working, and I'm a very interesting coach. And I'm going to say this. I don't want to lose clients, so I'm going to say it right, but I am going to say it right. I had a friend of mine when I did the Great Resignation, and I was like, employees, people are quitting now, and you want to be responsible. But he claimed my tone was like pro-employees, like down with the man. And I'm like, huh? Not really. Let me tell you why. Because I mostly coach executives and their teams. That's my only rule now, is when I coach you, I get to coach your teams too, because I believe everybody deserves a greater advantage.
Right.
And I will tell the executives of mostly now smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, I tell your team members, if they're miserable, if they're disengaged, if they're disgruntled, if they don't want to be here, if they wish they were doing something else, I tell them always two paths. Well, what you going to do? You want to leave? If you want to leave, I can help you. And if you choose to stay, then you can choose to stay. And that place that I told you I was working at when I was under somewhat of a bully boss, I became Harriet Tubman. I helped us all do our resumes. I was giving speeches at lunchtime. And the truth of the matter is, most people will decide to stay. I even decided to stay for a while because I said, okay, I'm not trapped. I can decide to stay and I can decide to go. And when I tell the executive that, they're like, thank you, because I don't want miserable people here anyway. This is not, they don't say this, but it's not slavery. Like, it's not a prison. You can leave.
Right.
I always tell people there's a job at the corner of the block that you're on that you can go to. So sitting here sobbing and crying to me and saying he doing this to me and that to me, go then.
Exactly.
And when I set them free, take that stake out the ground of the elephant or turn the fire off of the frog, sometimes they'll say, then I'm going to stay, but I choose to stay now. I have my resume together. I've got my skills together. I choose to stay. And then they become a much better partner in the workplace as opposed to sad and miserable.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they always were going to stay. They just had a platform when they were complaining. And so, because, at my job, I worked for the IRS for 30 years and I was in the union for 25 of those years. And so I used to tell people all the time, quit complaining about what you don't have, about what you can't do, because you got choices. Like you just said, you can stay and you got three choices: stay and be miserable and complain, stay and make a difference, or quit. But quit complaining. And so, eventually people got the idea, like you said, I mean, oh, you mean I got a choice? Yeah, you do. Yeah. And so, your message is a much needed message for a lot of people. It really is. Yeah. And so, we wanted to start with that. So we wanted to transition.
I just went to another job in the same department, a different department.
But I mean, but you got a choice though.
But I had a choice.
You got a choice, and we execute our choices. But so that's why I wanted to start with your grandfather. And when I looked at your podcast with the young lady that you were speaking with, and we want to transition to her. But what I want to do right here, because this is a good transition point. Okay. Tell us something else that your mother never told you. We know about your great-great-grandfather.
Yeah. Well, it ties with that. And this is going to be nice. How long you guys been married?
Oh, I don't know, 37 years.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you'll love this. This is how it went. My mother told me, not what she never told me, but what she told me was, Tynia, listen to this, and maybe I'm so glad that you don't know this song. Trust no man, not even your brother. If they must be trusted, let them trust one another. And that hurts my heart because she thought that they were all no good, and she taught us that. She was singing that in front of my brother. Think about my brother thinking, I'm no good. Goodness, I'm not even to be trusted. She thought, when you think about looking back in your history, this is me putting two and two together. During, what year was it? I want to say around 1938, maybe-ish. There was this great big flood. She was in Indiana at the time, I want to say, or Kentucky, one or the other, because her dad lived in one and the mom in the other. But anyway, there was a Midwestern flood, Mississippi, Ohio around that time. The father went and left because he had to go back and help his mother. Great Depression's going on, and he never came back. Okay. And so in her world, he abandoned her. But Grandma Opal had like 4 or 5 husbands. But we don't know.
My mama did too.
Thank you. And so we don't know what happened to Granddaddy. You know what I mean? Like, he might have been a good man. I don't know. But she taught me this. And so what she never told me was that my great-great-grandfather was such a good man. Like salt and pepper, what a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. And so the moral of my story, which you might have saw the blog about that, is my mother didn't tell me that we had a great, amazing man in our family that was married and loved his wife and did all these amazing things. And so if she would have told me that, I'm sure that my outlook would have been different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
because like I said, my mother was married 6 times and she married one of them twice. And when me and Damon were, going through our little winter spell, she was like, y'all need to get counseling. I said, what? You left 6 men and I can't leave one. But she's like, no, funny. You need counseling. You need to stop, breathe, and take a look at this. And y'all need.
She wanted you to do better than she did.
She wanted me to do better.
Right, right. Yeah. And sometimes that's a good thing about parents. Is that they want us to do better. They may not know how to show us, but they want us to do better. That's a good one, because your story goes back to what we said about knowing our past can help us today, or knowing our family history can help us when it comes time for whatever it is. Like you said, there was all this negativity about men when there was one who went through a whole lot of stuff where he could have been bad.
Right. I mean, we got to know our triggers. It really goes back to what we were saying. You got to know your triggers from yesterday at the grocery store when somebody says something to you, and you carry that back home. We have to know our triggers through our family history, through our ancestry, through, if not, then we will blow up. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
That's right. Right.
Well, yeah, that's why I was like, when he first asked me to marry, I was hesitant. Because I was like, well, she been married. Because I got a baby sister. She's never been married. Yeah. Had no plans on ever getting married. Yeah. He said, hats off to me, but she can't do it.
So, well, let's move that dark cloud.
It's all right. And that's why we look back to move forward. We don't just get stuck there.
That's right. That's right. Know where the mistakes are so we can avoid them.
Compliment my puppy Joy. She's quiet now on my lap. So
I see
that.
Very
good,
guys.
Yeah, very good. See,
and that name Joy too. That's a good name too.
Right. Okay, so now you did. I want to talk about that. You did a book, the 14-day experiment. Yeah. And then with two, and diversity intelligence is the new emotional intelligence. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Did that.
Yep, I already talked a little bit about diversity intelligence, and that's more of, it's really a manifesto that attempts to convince people on why we need to have intelligence around diversity, look back, move forward, know our hot buttons in the workplace. So it's somewhat of a diversity inclusion supplement for people.
Okay.
The 14-day experiment is interesting because I have a process, again, one of those spiritual awakenings that I had. I was in Hartford Memorial Baptist Church with Pastor Adams, and he was talking about how always be thankful in contrary winds. And I heard this process go through my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, did you hear that 7-step process? And my best friend was like, no, you heard that. Anybody hearing processes in your head? I'm like, for real? And I literally heard, do for the church what you did for, I was working at an automotive company. I won't say what company right now.
Okay.
But I was like, whoa, what? And so I put my processes together, did sticky noted. I'm a big storyboarder. I sticky noted everything. And part of that process, my coaching process, is to see all changes, all the behavioral changes, the new thought processes, managing our emotions in the form of experiments.
Okay.
Because I'm a big fan of something called the Transtheoretical model of change.
Okay.
And it talks about how we first aren't even thinking about it. We're not woke, right? Then we start thinking about it, and think about exercise, you guys. Then you start obsessing about it and preparing. Like right now, I've researched enough articles about elliptical trainers now. Just buy one. I mean, come on, Kim. And because you can't get in your gyms nowadays because of the pandemic.
Right.
And then you prepare, and then you actually take baby steps. All right. And you take the baby steps, and then you finally get into maintenance, and then relapse, and maintenance, relapse, and then you transition. Well, I wanted to spend time in that sweet spot of preparation and action, and that's where I have everybody see things as an experiment.
Okay.
So in other words, you're trying to make a change, whatever that is. Exercise more, eat right, do something different at work, be a better leader, break free from your bad, your mindsets of enslavement, if you will. Then see it as an experiment for 14 days, do some baby steps. If you win, you succeed, yay. If you don't, it's okay. Just record your lessons learned. And then every 2 weeks kind of look and say, what did I learn? What's so beautiful about that is eventually you'll get to the root cause. Like, oh, this don't have nothing to do about exercise. It's got to do with me procrastinating all the time.
Exactly.
And then that'll help me, break free from that. And then it'll also help you with other things. So that's what the 14-day experiment is about. When I had my radio show, I used to have people come on and actually do the 14-day experiment on air. Like the first Black Miss USA, Carol Gistramler did it. Monica Morgan. I'm saying some cast tech people, they came on. I told Damon I had an 80% cast people. They all vulnerably shared their lives and their journey and did the 14-day experiment.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. So the process works with anything. You just have to determine the steps that you are going to take to make the correction.
Like that.
I just say pick anything and do it and make a little agenda on what you're going to change and then start experimenting and record it. And then what's cool is that you can share with me, share with others, get other feedback. So I'm actually about to start my live action coaching on my podcast again with the lady who had the Great Resignation. She quit her job and now she's working on her business also, and I'm going to experiment with change with her and let everybody kind of watch. And
did she quit her job before or after the podcast?
She quit her job during the pandemic at the very beginning.
At the very beginning. Okay.
I did not set her free. I didn't hurry to her. And you'll have to hear what's going on because more than likely she will probably go back and to work so that she can afford her business and afford coaching and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
But I'm going to help her get her business going. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And so that's it. And the 14-day experiment is in book form.
It's a book on Amazon, ebook on Amazon. Yeah. Okay. Whole process. And what's cool is you hear these people's lives. They're actually changing and then sharing I take the blog posts, excerpts, and share what different people that were going through were saying and thinking. So you have like a community of people doing it. Because I believe even right now, and I'm declaring that I'm going to do the book and the screenplay, like I'm putting myself on the line, like I'm saying it. If I say I'm going to drink more water on air, I feel like, oh my gosh, people are, now I'm accountable. So community is everything, I think.
Right.
It really is.
Without a doubt. So before and so how can one catch up with your blog?
Yes. So the blog, everything is on kimbettie.com. You spell my name sounds like, Betty, like the first name, but it's spelled Bettie. So at kimbettie.com, the blog is there, the podcast is there. You can get access to the book there. That's basically the way that you can get everything. And then you can also follow me on social media at Kim Bettie. Coach Kim Bettie, at Coach Kim Bettie is how you can follow me on social media.
Okay. Yeah. And so all you're up in the diversity intelligence is the new emotional intelligence. That's a separate book, right? And that's available in the same sites as well.
Yep, Amazon.com. It's there as well. Yeah.
Okay. And so here's a fun one. You're an advocate of preventing burnout.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
That's my biggest thing right now, and I'm gonna tie it in a bow because right now burnout, so the World Health Organization recently declared burnout as a technical thing now. Like they call it the workplace burnout is this chronic stress that's turned into chronic workplace stress that burns you out. That's like when your fire goes out. The analogy I use, ladies will really get this. Well, men use candles too, but you know how when the candle wick gets so low, you try to stick your lighter or your matches in there and you burn your hand? To me, that's what burnout is like. You keep trying to light it back and it's just out, right? No energy, emotionally depleted. You feel hopeless. You don't think your situation's going to get any
Nothing
better.
Else to give. Yeah.
However, nowadays, though, it's not only about work. The social unrest that's going on in the world, the watching the constant bad news, being scared somebody's going. My daughter was like, "They're storming the Capitol. Are they going to come to our house?" She's in her 20s, but she thought, "Shoot, are they going to come to our house? Who's protecting us?"
Right.
And when this is going on, that can burn you out too. People are sick and tired of what's going on in the world. There's been statistics that have told us. Let me get my stats straight. There are. Let me get it right here. Let's see if I can find it quick. I think there's here we go. 1 in 3 adults worldwide are experiencing stress, according to the American Psychological Association. 77% of Americans say the future of our nation is a significant source of stress. And check this one out. Over 40% of people say they have personally experienced or witnessed political disagreements at work, according to CNBC 2019. So we're having to navigate things that we never had to, no matter what your diversity dimension is. So this isn't just for Black people. It could be, a variety of dimensions that this is going on. And it is unfortunate that we aren't equipped with the skills that we need to manage all of these emotionally exhausting things. The way that I read it, I wish I could give the quote right now and who said it. I don't know who said it, but yes, I do. I'm sorry. I'll plug another book that I'm actually reading. You see this one?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm reading this book, and in the very beginning, she talks about burnout is from caring for too much for too long. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say caring too much for too long when it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm an advocate. I found a burnout assessment that was one of the public domains that I could use because I wanted it to be empirically sound. Mm-hmm. And so you can also go on my website and take an assessment that measures work and life burnout and where you are with engagement, excitement, that love and feeling still with life and work, and your energy level, or, are you losing energy? And then I'm on a mission to help people to really understand how to get their fire back.
Okay.
Without burning their fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured out how to solve my burnout.
What's that?
I retired.
Well.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, my job, it got to a point that I was almost forced to go into management. And once I got into management, I saw how dysfunctional the place really was, even though I already kind of knew. But it was a thing like with you, it was to a point. It was not going any further. It's not doing me any good to be here. I'm dealing with crazy people above me, crazy people below me, and I'm about to become one of them.
I'd say, though, that the fact that you're doing this podcast and you're on a mission is also what's fueling you. If you had retired and didn't fill that gap, burnout's very interesting. People think it's about not doing, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. It's actually about filling your cup up with other things that you really love. So you're filling you got one by your side, you got your podcast, I don't know what all the other things that you do. And what I talk about are 7 areas that we want to look at, and you can sort of measure, red, yellow, green. So you can look at your spirituality. Like you hear me, I'm a very spiritual person, whatever that is. I'm not preaching my thing on you, but whatever you do, are you doing those things? Meditating, if it's yoga, if it's in your Bible, in your words, prayer, church. Then you can look at your self-care. Am I taking care of myself and doing all the things that I need to do to feel good, mental, physical? Then you can look at your vocation. Is it a vocation? Is it actually your calling, what you're doing, what you love to do? What do they say? If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Or is that work environment dysfunctional, which I help leaders fix? But in the meantime, are you working in that kind of place? Then you look at your finances can cause us so much stress. So are you doing the things that you need to do to at least feel secure, putting the savings, getting out of debt, whatever that is. And then it is also your social impact on the world. Community service can help us in so many different ways.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know if I said all 7, but what's so also interesting is our fun, recreation and fun.
Yeah.
I've had people set goals, come to get coached just to set goals to have some freaking fun. Especially during the pandemic. What are you going to do when you don't feel like you can get out if that's how you've been feeling?
That's right. So on that point, I don't want to say.
Oh, and love. I'm sorry, I left out love. Love and relationship is the other one.
There you go.
How's that?
Very good. And so all you said. So that's you have an assessment on your website that one can take to.
For the burnout, yes. And then I don't know if the 7 areas are probably somewhere on my website, but you really get to the point is that my goal is, of course, I have clients, amazing clients that I'm very grateful for, and that is how I pay my bills. And then I have some individual coaching professionals that can also afford it. Those that can't, though, that's why I have books that cost $2.99, $9.99. That's why I give it away on the podcast, because I really, truly believe everybody deserves a greater advantage. My pet peeve was when I was in big corporate America and the tools and techniques were stuck up in the ivory tower. And I used to work in the Renaissance Center, so literally on the, top floors.
Literally.
And, thank you. And so I wanted to trickle to everyone. So it's so important. So most of the stuff is on my website, or if it isn't, I will put it there for you.
Yeah. And, it's funny, I want to segue just a little bit, but I wanted to ask you a question. I used to always akin the Renaissance Center to the Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz.
Deep.
If you look at that building, it reminds you of the Emerald City. but it's also, it's in this, they plunked it in the middle of downtown Detroit, but it had that concrete berm around it. It basically said, stay out. It basically said, stay out. And until they took that berm down, now it's a more inviting place somewhat. But my question was to you.
Yeah, before he had that epiphany.
No, I've always looked at it.
Part 2, we will talk about that.
Yeah, every time I see the Wizard of Oz, I look at the Renaissance Center and see it. What do you do for fun? You talked about fun. You helping all these people.
That was
what do
my
you do
question.
for fun?
You know, and I've had my bouts of burnout. And I got to be careful because I'll have so many people and my coworkers from past like, you were not going out with us. You thought it was fun, the sticky note. One of my very best friends, she's, I want to say a brandologist, you know. And so for fun, we would sticky note and share each other's stuff and projects and stuff. So we really do have fun entrepreneurially.
Okay.
However, I have a wonderful 20-something-year-old daughter that I spend a lot of time with. We watch, because of the pandemic, I'm very careful, but we watch our movies and our Netflix. And I know that's not what Netflix and chill means, but we Netflix and chill. She's like, you shouldn't have said that, Mama. That's gross.
It means what you want it to mean.
I know. We watch our movies and we have fun. I'm very much in love with my puppy that I have. So joy brings me joy. And I want to, as soon as things clear up, be able to go and visit my amazing friends. I still have friends from high school. I have friends from grade school, really, that are my best friends. And I owe them all visits. And so traveling around to visit them brings me the most joy. Right now, we do it on Zoom.
Okay.
So I love to read. But I'm going to be honest. I'm actually thinking about putting some bone broth back in my life, but I'm a vegetarian vegan. That's probably about to add some protein back. But I love cooking and, recipes and things like that. So those are the things that bring me joy.
Okay, good. Because they always say I can't think.
The cobbler has no shoes. Like
yeah. That's one of the sayings. But
I got shoes. I'm not burned out. I'm living my whole life.
That's right. Yeah, well, you seem too happy to not have some joy somewhere.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I was just wondering, we tend to ask that question. And so, how often do you blog?
Yeah, you know what? I got to get back to my blogging. I got back to my podcasting. And I need to say about my business, and this is for all entrepreneurs, my business was my side hustle for a while. I started it in 2005, and then I stopped, and then I reinvented it in 2010, and then it was really a side business for a good little while, especially when I was in New York. So for the last 2 years, it's it is my bread and butter. And in that vein, I started my podcast back up. I haven't been blogging as much, but I'm going to. I'm looking at Damon and Tynia and saying I'm going to start back because people want me to finish the blog about my great-great-grandfather's story. So I'm going to do that. And so I don't have a commitment exactly on how often I do, but I'm going to start. Now, my podcast is weekly.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's something you can count on every week. The blogging, I'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
Right. Yeah, because when you sent me the article about your great-great-grandfather, I actually was up till about 2:30 reading it. And
People
so
say that.
So I had to stop so I can go to bed.
He sent it to me tomorrow. I sent you something.
I'll get back on it, you guys. Thank you. I usually try to do everything weekly, so I'm going to commit to a weekly blog.
Well, I mean, if you got the material.
I do. I have a crate full of stuff. Crate full of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's no need to wait and play around with it. Just do it.
Coach the coach, Damon. Coach the coach.
That's what I do. I'm not certified, but I'm.
You know what? You're making it worse.
Don't encourage him, Tynia.
I gotta, reel him back in sometimes.
You all are so cute. So cute.
Whatever.
But my thing was your coaching with these the Great Resignation. I found that YouTube segment that episode was very because we were talking about that too. Was it the money? Was it, why are people, because just yesterday I was driving down Burger King, $13 an hour, paying you daily. You ain't even getting weekly, 2 weekly. They paying you every day.
Oh, no, they heard it for work, for help.
So it's like,
And I thought it was interesting because if I talk to the unemployment guy, Cass Tecker, if I talk to somebody from Cass Tech, the head of the unemployment in Michigan, he said it's because people know their worth, right? And that they want more money. When I talk to the career development consultant, she's like, well, it's because people weren't a fit in their career. When I talk to the recruiter, she said it was because, they want different things when they're looking for their job. Like everybody had, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
And so I just started digging, and Lorena, who is the person that resigned, she's one example of many people that I started looking into, and I really concluded that, like I said, it's a survival mentality. If you survive a plane crash, you're a descendant of slavery, and you realize your great-great-grandfather survived. It's a different kind of mindset. You're like, I'm invincible. Now, I do want to put the fine print, which is to do it responsibly. I was just talking to someone not too long ago. She's like, I'm just going to quit. And I'm like, girl, you need a reference. Don't just quit. Do 2-week notice, 30 days. Don't just do that. They're making blogs they're doing, we need your behind the scenes lady to talk to us. We need a millennial, but they're actually on TikTok doing I quit videos now. I haven't seen it because I'm not on TikTok. TikTok, I need to get on it. But they're doing I quit videos, and I want to say that's fine, but I hope that you got a reference.
Yeah. Well, Brandis will tell you, because she's actually a supervisor at her job, and she works with Michigan Works, I think, on some projects.
Oh, yeah.
But she'll tell you that there are some people, and I like when you said responsibly, because there are some people who, because it's trendy to quit, who are quitting it and not accepting positions because they're looking for something they're not qualified for.
That happens. You're right. Yeah. However, look, I want people to go for it. You just may have to do a path. Like my daughter, she was like, Mom, this is what I want to make. And I got a big binder, old school binder, and showed her the path to make the money that she wants to make. Yes. There is a way. So I'm not dashing anybody's dreams.
Right. But do it right.
However, we need a strategic plan for your work and your life.
Yes, without a doubt. And that's the key that some folks are missing, is that you can get what you want, but you got to put in the work and do it the right way to get it. And then you get whatever you want.
Yeah, then you can retire.
So true. Yeah, then you can retire. Rewire is what they call it nowadays. Rewire.
It's rewire.
Rewire. You ain't kidding, because half of them not working. I got, my girlfriend's father, 80-something. He said, well, if they called it work, I wouldn't be doing it. So, he's a consultant. He still drive, all that. You know what I'm saying? He goes 3 days of work, 3 days a week to work.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
that's good.
To his job. To his career, consulting.
And one day when I lose my mind again, I might start working.
But I'm just saying, you already rewired. You got all these things going on. You don't need to add another thing.
And I sure don't need to add a phone call. I don't want to come in.
And I just sit back and support him and smile.
So what's coming up for you?
So what is coming up for me? I am on a mission to, there's my dog. There you are.
Oh,
hey there.
Joy.
She's gonna try to eat my scarf. That's what I'm worried about. I am on a mission. I want to reach, and maybe you all can help me with the outreach. I want to reach either 1,000 people is my goal. My stretch goal is 100,000 people that I want to take the work and life burnout quiz. And that's very important to me because I want to do this research. And like I wanted to uncover the why behind the Great Resignation, I really want to get to the root cause so I can help people to re-energize and get engaged in work and life. And so it starts with the research, and then I will design even more tools to support people. So that's really important to me, is to do that in 2022. I declared it. I am going to work on the book for my great-great-grandfather, about his story and, how it's given me my lessons learned. I really want to roll my sleeves up and get into some of the, and it's a big, I'm only doing this because of the calling in my life, but I really want to roll my sleeves up and support these diversity and inclusion initiatives.
Yes.
Because we all know, like when Starbucks did that, a half a day is not going to cut it. So I want to have sustaining strategies. Lots of people are doing lots of things. I just want to partner with them to do.
You mean that Starbucks plan didn't work?
I mean, I haven't checked behind it to see if it would. But the process that I have supplements biasness and different other things that are going on to keep people talking and healing. The biggest thing I'm going to say, if you ask me what I'm up to, I call it like a group hug. Let me break this down for you on my exit. Group hug. We have to heal first. Then we unify. Then we get into action. If we don't heal first,
I know.
If we don't learn our triggers, and I'm going to give you a model for that. I call it the truth will set you free. T, trigger, know your triggers. R, and this is all experimenting, study. Oops, messed up today. Wonder why. What's your trigger? What's my reckless thinking or emotions that were out of control? R, U, what's the unhealthy behavior that I did? I posted on social media all the things about my diversity dimension, and I was, way too much. Right. Like one day I put something out like this. I was like, was that too much? I hope not. I studied what it really meant, but I'm like, I'm gonna leave it. But am I doing something, putting some bad stuff out, talking about people, put comments, canceling somebody, whatever that is, was mean to the lady at the water cooler. And then the other T is what's the truthful thinking? What's really the truth? Damon said, there's people and have a bad boss. And well, is he a bad boss, or is maybe he didn't get trained? Maybe he doesn't even want to be a leader. You're like, what's the truth? Right. Maybe he didn't even really mean what he really said. Maybe he really cares about you and he doesn't know how to communicate it, etc. Right. We don't know. Is everybody upset? Maybe not. Maybe just the two people that I eat lunch with. What's the truth? Right. And then we can go to H, the healthy behaviors, healthy actions, healthy thoughts. So you study the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm not about positive thinking for positive thinking's sake. I'm about getting to the truth. Mama, I can trust some men, not all of them.
That's right.
That ain't true, Mama. You ain't tell me that.
That's right. That's right. Because I tell folks all the time, they can't trust all men, but you can't trust all women either.
Well, and biblically speaking, it says don't trust men, trust God. So it was true, but not in the way she was saying.
Not the way she was saying it. Yeah.
And then we use things to suit our own purposes,
our own hurt.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm up to. That's what I'm up to.
Well, that sounds good. So that 1,000, the survey thing, you and I are Facebook friends.
Yeah.
So send me if you have it together, send it to me and I'll post it on my social media page, and we'll see if we can get some folks to respond to it, see what happens with that.
There you go.
Right.
And if people go to my website, kimbettie.com, and join the mailing list, then I will communicate. You can reply. I'll coach you and tell you, girl, don't quit like that. We need to do it different. Right. Like I will be there for you, and I will encourage you to take that survey as well. I will send it to you as well as the website link, Damon and Tynia. Thank you.
Brandon says she's posting it now.
Oh, girl. Love them.
Right.
The millennials.
So, without a doubt.
And me too. I love them.
Right. Because I mean, all the stuff you're talking about, the stuff that we need, we've been needing, and we're going to continue to need.
I know. And somebody got to stop that vicious circle, the crazy cycle,
Right. Because that last T in the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
We need to know the truth, and we need to recognize it and accept it, that it's the truth. And not some.
And like you said, most people's hurts aren't about us. It's about them. It's something that they never did get resolved.
Yeah.
So it's like, but we just got to learn how to deal with it responsibly.
Right.
And then everything is not angry at us.
Without doubt. Well, it looks like we're coming to the end of a little bit of time here. You got any last nuggets you want to share?
Yeah, I would say that, there is hope. When I look at 2022, one of the things that I want people to do, it kind of goes with what Lorena said, my guest on the podcast, that we can cry and boss up. And what I caught her doing was healing and dreaming. And I'm going to say we can dream. We can dream. It's been a while. We've had a lot of hard times through the pandemic and social unrest. And it has been tough, and we never can stop dreaming. I believe that hope is the prerequisite to change. And so we have to hope, believe, have faith that we can do these things, and we can do them, and we can do them responsibly and make changes in our lives. So,
all right.
I'm here to help.
I like that.
All right. You can tell that's a life coach right there.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on here.
We appreciate you.
Anything else, Will?
No, that is it. I'm telling you, I'm inspired though. It's just, I'm inspired.
Well, she inspired.
Harmony. I like harmony.
That means I got more.
I like peace.
Exactly.
I love peace.
Peace and harmony.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being on here. And we'll see if we can in a little while, maybe we can hook up and do it again.
I love that. Thank
you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Joy.